If I was to say I own everything my father owns, I am my father.
No, you're not your father, but you own everything that he owns, right? What does your father own? A house, a car. What does God own?
Everything in the universe.
So therefore, Christ does too.
His argument is that Jesus' religion is closer to us than it is to yours.
It's not. Look at any kind of like description of them praying. They're not like on their knees as they're doing it, right? They're on their entire face. So when you pray, for example, your face doesn't hit the floor, it's your forehead.
The study of embryology at the time of the Greeks, ancient Greeks.
Yes.
How did they study embryos?
Anybody who has a farm animal or a pet can see an embryo.
Embryo?
Yep.
You mean at a cellular level?
Well, the Quran does not describe anything on a cellular level. No, it doesn't.
Transition.
Show me the word cell in the Quran.
These are the ones that were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
Why would you then go out of your way to add new ones?
There are words that Muhammad never knew. For example, did he know what the word magnanimous was?
Magnanimous?
Magnanimous is when somebody is charitable even to their enemies. I would simply say that Islam is a local religion. I come from Nigeria. Before my people were Christianized, we had our own local religion. The world centered around us. We were the oldest people in the world. We had hidden knowledge. So there's many local religions. My friend, you want to come over real quick?
You see, he's scared again. Yeah, he's scared.
Lamin, I love you, okay? Lamin, I love you. But you're wrong, you're wrong.
You can't debate. Give back.
My friend, oh, sorry. There you go.
Go and study your Bible. Thank you very much.
My friend, please. So, this gentleman, what's your name, my friend? I'm David, by the way. Mal. How you doing? So, you asked the question, if I lose my fingers, am I still me? I would say yes. Why would I say yes? My fingers are not essential. I don't have to have these to be me. My identity is based on a composition of things that aren't just my finger, okay? So, if I compare these fingers to Allah's attributes...
But these are not compared.
Okay, great. So what was the point you were trying to raise by saying, if I lost my fingers, would I still be me?
Because you're breaking down the attributes as separate things. So you're saying if God has 99 attributes, he would have to be 99 gods.
Yes. Okay.
That's not right.
Okay, wait.
Plus, he's not comparable, so you can't compare him to normal things
That's fine. I don't know anything that has 99 eternal attributes. So that's fine.
Yeah, because nothing's like it.
Awesome. So I'm not talking about anything in particular. I'm talking only about Allah. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, you said that I am breaking down the attributes. But the attributes are not the same thing. They are all distinct from each other. Al-Hay isn't Al-Haq.
Yeah.
So they are already different anyway.
Yeah.
So they are already broken down anyway.
Yeah.
Okay,
but not different.
I haven't done anything wrong.
So can you be, again, can you be tall and black?
Okay, I can be tall and black, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, those are two descriptors.
But
they are not essential qualities, okay? Now, if we go back to Allah's attributes, are they created by Allah or have they always existed alongside Allah? What does your Aqidah say?
So if you existed without a heart, would you be existing?
Well, yes, because people live without hearts, yes. Now, if Allah...
Can someone be born without a heart?
Yes, that's a condition, unfortunately.
Without a heart?
Yeah.
And they're living?
Well, through medical technology now, they can. It's possible now, through medical
Never heard of it.
So they can either be born without a heart or with a undeveloped heart, and they can still survive with surgery.
Undeveloped means they still have a heart.
Yeah, but it's not functioning. So,
can you
like,
have zero heart?
Is a heart a heart without functioning?
Can you completely not have
I think
lungs?
in some rare cases you can.
So can someone be not having any lungs, born without lungs, and live?
Okay, fine. So lungs are essential. I would say, I don't know any examples, there might be a free case, but let's go with your example. Can somebody be born without lungs and live? Let's just say no, okay? So we can say that the lungs are essential for life, okay? So that means that Allah has to have all his attributes to be Allah. Yes?
But you're comparing him to things that you know.
Yes, because you keep bringing these examples, trying to showcase to me things that are created that require certain features to exist. Why? Because you're trying to show me that, oh, if babies need this, that's why Allah has this, right?
So again, you said, if you did not have any of his
I'm gonna ask
you, would not be Allah,
I'm gonna when you give me these analogies, I'm gonna ask you why you're doing it now, so you can explain to me why you're doing it. Okay? Because I think that every time you do it, you're trying to show me that some things are required in order for a thing to exist.
Right, so in order for a human being to exist, they need to have lungs, right?
Okay.
So you said that Allah, if he did not have his attributes, he would not be Allah.
Yes.
But he does have these attributes, therefore he's unlike anything else.
Okay. And the attributes are not created, yes or no?
Irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
Ooh, no, we must
They're
ask
not
these
created,
questions.
They're not created.
Awesome, awesome. If something is not created, it is therefore eternal, without a beginning or without an end.
Correct.
Okay, in your theology, how many things can have no beginning and no end? In mine, it's only God.
I completely agree with you.
But the attributes also have no beginning or end.
Completely agree with you.
Okay, so that means that the attributes are therefore God, because initially
The attributes cannot be a thing on its own. Lungs cannot be a human.
Okay, so the attributes are dependent upon Allah.
There's no dependence.
Well, for lungs to function, they mostly need a human being or a machine, right? So they are kind of dependent to perform their role. So the attributes to perform their role, do they require Allah or not?
Again, you're trying to split something that's
Is
not,
Allah the same thing as His attributes?
One of his attributes is the creator.
Okay,
Right?
so
You're saying these are created attributes.
no, so I'm asking if they are or if they are not. Which one is it?
What is your
Are the attributes created or not created?
What do you mean created or not created?
Did the attributes were the attributes caused to come into being, or did they have no beginning?
As an example, let's take one attribute.
Okay.
Merciful.
Okay.
God is merciful.
Okay.
How do you create mercy?
I don't know.
All right. So what you're asking for, you don't know how to define.
Yeah. Well.
You're asking for something you don't know how to define.
Okay.
To be
No.
merciful,
I do know how to define
there has to be
mercy.
context,
You
right?
asked me to define how it was created. I can define mercy, but I can't describe to you how it was created. So I am not describing something I don't know how to define. I can define it.
we're on the same page.
But to be created, that means something different. So again, I'm asking you, do you think that, for example, in my theology, the love of God is not created, and the love of God is equivalent to God?
All right.
If you talk about God's love, that's the same thing as talking about God. When we talk about Allah's attributes, are they equivalent to
love
Allah?
is an attribute. That's the same thing.
Well,
love is an attribute.
okay, so we
Equivalent in
regard
what
that one.
context? Sorry, equivalent in what way?
Does
are you trying to equate?
does the Creator equal the whole of Allah? Everything that Allah is that what the Creator is?
So, what do you classify the love of God as?
The love of God is an essential quality of God, which without there wouldn't be a stable universe.
All right.
So, all these are the same thing. The 99 attributes are the same definition.
Okay, so the 99 attributes are all equivalent to the whole of Allah.
It's not an
I'm trying
equivalent.
to
Are you saying
understand the
love is
equation. How are
equivalent
you
to?
equating the two?
Okay, Allah is one, and there are 99 ones.
Attributes to the one. So you can have multiple attributes to yourself as an individual.
But Allah isn't like me, so my attributes are created,
Absolutely.
Allah's aren't.
Okay.
So
in what context is what I'm trying to say? So if we take merciful, we said as an example.
yes,
How do you equate merciful to Allah as an entire entity?
you tell me.
No, you're asking the question.
We're not.
What do you
We're
make
saying
of
it's
it?
not created.
So are you saying that mercy is not equal to the whole of Allah then?
What is the equation? This is what I'm trying
The
to ask. It doesn't make
equation,
any sense.
the equation is that there is one, which is Allah,
Okay.
and then next to the one,
An attribute.
there's a
One of
comma,
the- one of
and
the
then there are
attributes.
99
No, no.
ones.
David.
Are the 99 ones equal to the original one?
David,
So it's a
not
mathematical
next to the
equation.
one.
Yes, so does 1 equal 1, 1, 99 ones?
In the context of mathematics?
Sure, if you want to do it, because just for an equation, right?
It's a
I don't
qualitative- It's a
believe.
qualitative description, being merciful.
Oh, so it's not a real thing.
Quantitative. It's not a quantitative measure.
So it's not real.
You
It's
cannot- you cannot say to me, merciful
Yep.
is equivalent to Allah on its own. Do you
okay.
understand?
So is it a part of him?
It's a description
Okay.
for someone like you, for someone like me to understand the attributes of God. Like you said, there are multiple attributes to God. Like I said, there could be multiple attributes to your personality, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily the one. If I say that you're tall, you being tall doesn't define you as in your entirety, right?
Okay.
There's a lot more to you.
Okay.
You could be intelligent, you could have all of these other attributes to you.
Okay.
So how are you trying to equate one attribute to the entire entity? This is my question. This is what I'm trying to understand from you.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that me being tall, me being black, or whatever the case might be, does not equal to the whole of me.
Okay.
So why am I trying to equate a single
One
one
of
of my
these attributes,
qualities to the whole of me?
Yes.
Okay, so I am not doing that. I am a composite being. I am made of parts. Is Allah made of parts?
Sorry, I have to stop you right there. That
Okay.
is what you're doing. You're asking us to equate one of these measures to the entirety of
I'm
God.
asking you, does it? I'm not asking you to do it. I'm asking you, does it? Yes or no? Does one of the qualities equal Allah, or do the qualities not equal the whole of Allah? Therefore, Allah is composite. He's made of parts.
He's not made of things. That's a description of him.
What are we describing? Are we describing something that is abstract, imaginary, or something that's real? Is the mercy of God a real thing?
Go back a step. Where you said the love of God.
Yes.
How do you not have that same mentality with the
love of God?
The love of God.
The love of God in Christianity is equal to the whole of God. The love of God is an essential quality of God. Without love, there is no God. Without God, there is no love.
But is He merciful?
You can ascribe attributions to God, but in the Bible, it distinctly tells us that brothers and sisters love one another because God is love. So we take from that in the essential nature of God is love. Love is equal to God, and without God, you can't have love, and vice versa.
Can God punish His creation?
God has the ability to do so, yes.
Has He done so?
He has.
All right. So, if you were to only define Him as a loving God, or this one characteristic defines God, in what context is that action of punishment?
You're presupposing that love does not also mean the ability to punish.
Okay.
So you're going to have to prove that love means you can't punish.
So that means there's another attribute, not just love.
So, these are not attributes, these are actions. So now, when you're talking about punishment isn't an attribute, it's an action. Love is the essential quality that I'm talking about here. So when it comes to Allah, are any of His qualities essential, as in, without them, would He still be Allah? If He had 98 names and not 99, would He still be Allah or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
He would? Okay, so what is the purpose of the attributes if they are not essential?
What do you mean? In what context are they essential or not essential?
So, as something that is essential would imply that it has to exist, it has to be there. It is a quality which without negates the ability of a thing. So if Allah was not...
of a thing.
Yes. If Allah was not all merciful, if like He lost the attribute of mercy, would He still be God?
Yes.
Why?
Because He has the other 98 attributes that we discussed. For instance, Him being the creator, He cannot lose that attribute because He has created already, right? There are creations. If this entire humanity were to just disappear, the creation is no longer there, but the creator is.
There's a hierarchy.
In what context?
So there is no way that Allah can lose the ability to be a creator, but potentially He can lose mercy.
No,
mercy. So when I just said that if you took away the attribute of mercy from Allah, would He still be God? He said yes.
He's still God,
because He has the other 98 attributes, right? So it implies, but then He said further that you can't take away the attribute of creation because He has already created. So it seems that among the 99, there are some that can be taken away and not affect Allah being God, but some that have to be there.
In response to that, mercy being taken away as an example in Islam, Day of Judgment, there is no mercy. So you cannot ask for mercy on the Day of Judgment, right? At this point, all of your sins and your deeds have been accounted for, and there's no more changing the balance of that, right? So mercy is no longer there. God is still there. God, His role as God is still there.
Okay, so that makes it even more interesting.
So there's a context there.
There are some attributes that aren't eternal, but some are.
In what context are you saying are not eternal?
David,
so wait, a moment.
Let me put it into small.
Let me come back to you in just 1 second. Let me address that point. So some attributes will be done away with, like mercy, but the rest of them won't. Because, for example, Allah is the truth. He is the all-knowing. He is the all-living, or the ever-living, sorry.
Right.
Those probably can't go away because without those, Allah wouldn't be Allah anymore.
Okay.
Right? So there appears to be a hierarchy in the 99 where there are some qualities that are essential for God to be God, but others that aren't.
Is your question to me, is there a hierarchy in the attributes?
So that is a point. It's not necessarily a question. You can answer it if you want to, but overall my question is, the relationship between Allah and His attributes seems to be one where you are either stuck in a rock and a hard place. If you go to one angle, the attributes are created things, but Allah relies on them in order to be God. And if you go to another angle, they are not created. Therefore, you have 99 plus things that are also eternal along with God.
Okay, so you're claiming that each attribute is what qualifies God to be God.
What else would they do?
I'm asking you.
Yes, that's my claim. Because that is a traditional Sunni claim. To Allah belongs all the most beautiful names. Okay.
It's very important that we do not miss the fact that these things cannot just vanish and stop existing. Yes, he stops using them and wants to use them as he wish. For example, let's just go back to yours as an example.
You're pointing at me here, so make your statement.
He said that mercy would go away.
Not go away, he would stop using it, and to be fair to other people.
Would it still be there?
It's a description.
Okay.
It's a description and not anything else.
Okay.
For example,
Allah will still have the capacity to be merciful, right?
Okay.
In the example that I gave you about Judgment Day.
Okay.
He still has the capacity to be merciful.
But He withholds it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's still there.
Yeah.
So
Never
mercy
goes
is
away.
an eternal attribute.
Yes.
All of them are eternal
Awesome.
attributes.
Awesome. That means they're all gods.
But you're
Okay.
breaking.
Hold on. Again, you can have more than one attribute to you. Not each attribute is an individual God that is free thinking.
But
on
it's
its own.
eternal.
It's one individual
eternal,
God
yeah.
with all of these attributes combined.
So there are things that can be eternal that are not God in your eyes.
In what context? Give me an
Things
example.
that have
Give me
no
an example.
beginning and no end, but
give me
they
an
are God.
example. As-
Like Allah's attributes.
Allah's attributes.
Yes.
It's
They
something
are
that defines. It's something that defines Allah.
But it's more than that, no. It's not just a descriptor. Because no, wait.
No,
but
because you're changing the scope every time,
But
so-
no, I am not actually. You are because
Explain.
if the attributes are only descriptors, then there's no need to have only 99. We can have 10 million.
That's down to him.
No, wait.
He decides to explain to us how his attributes are.
So
we don't decide
So
how many they are.
if you're saying that the attributes are only descriptors, then that means that we can add an infinite number of descriptors
Why would you add
to
infinite
God
numbers? If
because
these
they
the
are
ones that
only just.
if these are the ones that were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
Why would you then go out of your way to add new ones?
There are words that Muhammad never knew, expressions that he never knew,
Okay.
ideas he never
Give me
knew.
an example,
Yeah.
For example, did he know what the word magnanimous was?
Magnanimous?
Yes.
All right. Define in your context.
Magnanimous is when somebody is charitable even to their enemies.
Okay. So is there no attributable name of Allah
That is magnanimous.
that is not in
No.
the same context as magnanimous?
No,
I'll have to.
I don't
argue
believe so.
about
I think I read them all.
Define magnanimous, and I'll translate it.
Somebody who is merciful and forgiving to their enemies.
Rahim.
Ghafur, Rahim.
Well, no, that is the most merciful. But Allah is not merciful to those people who disobey Him, who forget about Him, who turn away from Him.
But he's
So,
merciful even to the enemies.
but how so when it says that Allah does not love the unbeliever, the kuffar, the one that turns away from Him? In Surah 43:61, it says that if you forget the remembrance of the All-Merciful, that He will send demons to be your companions.
Sorry.
I mean,
you can be loving and not love something, right?
well, you can be loving and not love something.
Yes.
That's interesting, right?
No, that's a
so,
fact.
if you possess, no, it depends, right? Are we talking about human love, where I can love you and hate him,
Okay.
or
define
is
human
it?
love.
Huh?
You mentioned human love as a phrase.
Okay.
Define it. Human love.
It's created, it's perishable, and it's only a fraction of what a true agape love is.
Okay. Something that is perishable.
Human love, absolutely.
What is a godly love?
Ooh, godly love is eternal, right?
Can that godly love be separated from God?
Nope, I say it can't.
But we're saying all attributes cannot be separated from God.
Okay, so that
All of
means that Al-Hay is equivalent to Allah.
It cannot be separated.
Al-Hay is equivalent to Allah, yes? Or is it only a part of
It's
Allah?
a description. Al-Hayy in English means the living.
Okay.
Because he's eternal, he's forever going to be there.
Constantly
He
there.
was there, and he's going to be there for
Okay.
eternal. It's
So
just not going to go away.
Al-Hay isn't a real thing. It's just a description. That's all it is. So it's not real.
It's a
It's something that
description.
defines. Yeah.
So it's not actually a real thing. Like tall isn't a real thing.
That's like you saying I'm not here right now.
Well, no, it's not, because you are a human being. You have cognition. You can talk to us and communicate with us. So from that respect, I can say that with my senses, you are here. Now, is short here with us?
Let me just put
Right?
this into context.
Because, again, that's a
Hayy-
descriptor.
Hayy means living.
They're
So
all
right
living,
now,
yes.
right
They're
now,
living.
I'm Hayy right now. Just Hayy, not Al Hayy. When
not
you put
difficult, man.
when you
Hayy
put
means living.
this is Arabic, right? So when you put al before the word,
It means like
it becomes
the-
the thing. So right now I'm Hayy.
Okay.
I will never be Al Hayy because I will die at some point.
Okay,
and,
sure.
And a couple years ago, I wasn't even there,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So with God, it's Al Hayy.
Okay.
Rahim, I can be Rahim.
Okay.
I can be
Sure
respectful or anything like that.
Sure
But
thing.
when you put the definition, so the,
Okay.
that's just one.
All of the descriptors you just named for yourself are all perishable. They're all created. They're all not everlasting. But with Allah, they are.
Yeah.
So with you, I can use those descriptors on you. That's fine. But when it comes to Allah, the way that we use it isn't the same thing.
So I have a
So
question.
that would mean
How would you understand God if He does not give you attributes for you to understand?
through His actions.
Okay. As an example.
Okay, so for example, if God when God came to Abraham and promised him a child and then gave him a child eventually, right?
God came to Abraham.
Yes.
In what?
Promised him a child.
No, in what context did he come to Abraham? Physically he came to
Abraham?
Yeah,
physically. Yeah,
right.
physically showed up to Abraham, right?
In
right.
Genesis he said that God came to Gabriel, right?
No, that he came to Abraham.
Sorry, Abraham, excuse me. In the Quran, does it say that?
No.
Okay, so you're asking us about something that we don't actually believe in.
Well,
right?
okay, here's the problem. I'm sure you're aware already. If you've ever read the Bible, the Quran is lacking severely in context, so you're going to have to rely.
Make the same argument, but
it's
my point
not.
is on this
you can't.
specific point.
You can't, unfortunately, because
you can't talk to us about something we don't believe in.
You can't. Yeah, you can't make sense about
okay, so here's a question.
Right?
Here's a question.
Because let me finish. Because unfortunately, in the Quran, it is not really a descriptive book.
Right.
It's sort of just interprets things as though that the people who are hearing the recitations are already aware of who Moses is. They already know who Abraham is.
Right.
Blah 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 blah
Right.
blah.
Yeah.
So in that case, we can just say, "Oh, remember that one time when Moses saw Allah in the bush?" Right?
You realize the Quran came after the Bible and the Torah that mentioned these stories.
Which is why it's assuming, so it's presupposing that those people who it's telling the stories to already know about these stories.
Right.
So in order for you to know about the stories, you have to refer to the text where they came from, which will be the Old Testament or the New.
So what's the purpose of the Quran if we can just refer to these ones, right?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. In the one hand, in Surah 19, it is the Spirit of Allah who's performing the bestowing on the child.
Yeah.
Later, it's Allah who's blowing into Mary and having the child be conceived. So the Spirit of Allah and Allah appear to be partners in this creation of Isa.
The Spirit of Allah that referred to Allah as
I'm the messenger of Allah.
As the messenger of Allah.
Well, what I would say there is this is simply incarnation theology,
It is a
where
linguistic issue what you're
the
referring to.
divine comes in as in the form of a servant, aka a man,
Yeah.
and they can say that I am a servant in the same way that Christ
that's
is called a servant.
Yeah, just so we clarify that point.
Okay.
It was an angel that was sent to Mary.
That's not what it says.
Sorry?
That's not what the Quran says.
But you
Yeah,
literally
I'm
said, I'm a
explaining to you
messenger
what-
of Allah.
That's fine. So
Our interpretation of Jesus is that he's a messenger. Yours is that he's God.
I would say yours is incomplete because you don't have enough words of his. You
I
can't
can make
tell
the
me.
argument. I can make the argument.
Well, okay.
There's different versions of the Bible. One claims where Jesus claims that he's God, and in others he does not. He claims that he's a messenger.
Which is the one where he claims is God, and then which are the ones that say he's not God? Can you tell me that, please?
Maybe you can because you're the expert in the Bible, right?
Okay.
This is what you believe.
Thank
not
you,
me,
thank you.
right?
Because I'm the expert,
Go ahead.
I can tell you that all Bibles say that Jesus Christ is God. There we go.
All Bibles say that Jesus
all Bibles
Christ
say
is
is
God.
God. Yes.
All right. I'm very well aware that
Yep.
there are multiple verses in the Bible.
Yep.
Right? I'm sorry that I can't refer to them.
That's fine.
I'm
No,
not
no
an
worries.
expert.
No worries. So
But
same
there
roughly,
are,
and I
there are
can.
multiple verses
Okay.
in the Bible where Jesus mentions that he's the messenger of God,
Which is true.
right? But it conflicts with the argument that he is God.
Well, no, because that is what incarnation theology means. If the infinite comes to the finite, the infinite cannot display all the qualities of the infinite in the finite. So if God is infinite, and then God comes here. In the Quran, you have so all the time. Allah appears to Moses in the burning bush. Allah appears behind the mountain, and then the mountain explodes and Moses passes out. So the infinite can enter the finite in some kind of meaningful way, but cannot display the full magnitude of his ability.
So Allah speaking to Moses through the bush.
Yep.
It's not Allah being the bush speaking to Moses.
Okay, then again, what's happening there?
So I'll give you the back story to it, I guess. Moses is traveling in the dark in the desert. There's a bush on fire. That's a signal for him to go. He was lost at the time. So he was going to find shelter or seek direction.
Surah 28:30 or Surah
Perfect.
20:10, yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
So
it's told him
why,
both.
why did God use this as a tool to communicate with Moses? He needed to speak to Moses individually.
Okay.
Moses came to the burning bush. God spoke to him. God wasn't the burning bush.
Is God incapable of just talking to Moses via like telepathy?
No, fully capable, yeah.
So why has God chosen to appear in a bush? Because the voice says that the voice of Allah came from the bush.
Yes.
So why does God have to appear as a bush?
Now imagine this.
Okay.
Moses is traveling in the desert with his
Yep.
family.
Yep.
Starts speaking incoherently to a voice that only he can hear.
Okay.
Do I need to continue?
Yes, you do.
Okay, Moses is going to seem
Because-
like a madman to his own family, the
Right,
people he's
but
traveling with.
You can't just say I'm hearing voices.
Yeah.
Right, but
There's got to be something significant.
But he seems sane in going up to a fire and coming back down to his family and saying, hey, wife and kids, a fire just told me to go do something. That's sane to you.
It's look, again, you're asking about a specific scenario here.
Yeah.
Moses going and speaking to a bush, to you seems incoherent, but it makes more sense.
It's not incoherent to me.
Okay.
The same story is in the Bible.
Okay.
All that's happening there is that the presence
So why are
of
you arguing
God.
about that point? If
So,
it's in the
so
Bible?
I am trying to show you that at certain instances, the divine, the infinite, can interact with the finite, but only in a finite manner.
Okay, did we argue against that point?
Yes, you did,
What
because
did we
he
say?
was saying that you don't believe that Allah can come here. And I'm telling you that,
Not
the
in a
Quran says.
physical presence, not
Well,
in a spirit
We're saying
presence.
Allah has
Well-
not done so.
Well,
Because you made the
the
claim that you did.
Quran says opposite. The Quran, Surah 2, verse 115, says that if you look to the east and look to the west, what do you see? The face of Allah. So somehow the face of Allah is in the
face
east
of
and the
Allah.
west.
I'm sorry, it says you will see the face of
Yep.
Allah. That's how you've interpreted it, or
That's what it says.
That's not what it says.
Surah 2, verse 115. Go look it up if you want to see
Surah
it.
Al-Baqarah, I know. That's not what it says.
What does it say? Then correct me, you're the expert.
No, I'm saying to you, you've misinterpreted something. It doesn't mean you're looking at Allah if you look east and west.
Okay.
All right. So this is.
What does
something-
it mean?
No, absolutely. You've completely misinterpreted that.
Because it says you see the face of Allah. So what does that mean?
Again, that's how you've interpreted it. That's not correct.
Okay.
You will not see the face.
What's
of
a
Allah.
face?
Explain to me. Give me the context.
Okay, a face is a construction of physical features that allow a thing to be identified.
So if you look east and west, do you see a face?
Well, I see nothing really.
All right.
So, what is Allah trying to communicate with us then?
All right.
In that case.
That's a much more relevant question.
Awesome.
All right, but
Tell me.
you've
Yeah?
interpreted it as a face. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Well, it says the word face. So
If you face the east,
yes,
does that mean there's a face in the east?
well,
or
if
you faced east?
it feels that it means that you faced east. So
Precisely.
you turned your
Precisely.
face to the east.
Exactly. So what I'd say
Your
is,
physical face.
before you make an argument about looking east and west, you'll see the face of God.
Yes.
You need to understand what it says.
Okay.
You've not understood it.
Okay.
You made an argument that's completely false.
Okay. So if you face east, you're turning your face
Towards
to the east.
Yes.
Awesome. If you look to the east and see a face,
You need to
you're
see someone about
looking
that.
to the east
But
and seeing
again,
a
this
face.
is- yeah, that's my point.
Well,
You've misinterpreted.
that's what the
something.
Quran says. So
The
again,
Quran does not say that again.
it does say that.
I'm the expert in this one.
Also,
That's what it says. 2115.
Exactly. So it's not saying that there is a face in the east or in the west.
It
So,
says what?
Again, you're looking at the Arabic language here in an English context. Arabic and English are not compatible in that
Awesome.
context.
And that leads me to an even better point where it would seem that this religion is only for the Arabs, as it says in the Quran.
It says that this is only for
context.
Arabs.
Well, it says that Allah has revealed this to you in Arabic so that you may understand.
No, we're saying
Now-
the translation is incorrect.
Now,
Yeah.
if you are not Arabic, how can you ever really hope to understand what the Quran says?
You study it.
Most people will never study Arabic. Most people will never understand
choice.
Arabic.
That's a choice.
True, because
So-
in Europe, back in the days, when they had to learn sciences from the Arab world,
Yep.
the Europeans had to learn Arabic to go and get that knowledge.
And then
So it is quite
the
doable to
Muslims,
learn the Arabic, right?
the Muslims before that had to get Greek-speaking Christians to translate the works of Aristotle into Arabic so that they could understand it. But if you look today, how many percent of the entire world can speak Arabic?
See that a Muslim supporting.
I can't believe it. Masha Yeshua, you're also going to become a Christian one day. Well done.
Look at that.
If you look today, only I think about.
the preservers of the Arabic language really aren't the Arabs themselves. If you look in Indonesia and Asia
Yep.
and Persia,
Yes.
I think these are the ones that have really kept the Fusha, the classical Arabic, intact.
Well, potentially, but I think only about like 8% of the entire world speaks Arabic fluently.
Are you within that percentage?
I am not.
Okay.
So that would mean that essentially, for 92% of the entire world, the Quran is inconceivable.
All right. If I can make an argument against that, then.
Because the Quran itself says this. It says it in Surah 12, verse 2, and
That the
Surah
Quran was
43,
revealed in
verse
Arabic,
3,
yeah.
so that they would understand.
Why-
So
why would it-
I'm not
why would
Arabic.
it say that?
Huh?
But why do you think that? Has it
I
not
think,
got something to do with the elegance of the Arabic
I don't
language
think so.
in its
I-
sciences in the actual the language?
I wouldn't say so. I would simply say that Islam is a local religion. There are thousands of local religions. From my neck of the woods, I come from Nigeria. Before my people were Christianized, right? We had our own local religion. The world centered around us. We were the oldest people in the world. We had hidden knowledge. God favored us. So there's many local religions.
But you can say
So
the same
I
thing
just
with-
think it's
with
the same thing.
Christianity, can't you?
Well, you can't because from the very onset of Christianity, so let's just say when Christ ascends into heaven, from the very onset, you have people coming from all parts of the world to Jerusalem, learning the gospel, and then taking it back to their parts of the world simultaneously. Which is why in the first century, in the first like 0 to 99 or whatever, you have churches that are in Egypt, that are in Ethiopia, that are also in Rome and in Turkey. So it's not for one people. Like from the very beginning, it was absolutely fine to translate the gospel message, because really it was more of a song than it was. Huh? Yes. Sorry? Yeah, but those came way later. I'm talking about like 0 to 99, like AD, like thousands of years ago, and, way back in the past.
Sorry, what language was Jesus speaking?
Jesus probably spoke many languages, because
Aramaic. The answer is Aramaic.
It's one language.
Well,
So
again,
when it was revealed to him, the Bible
you
was
would
revealed
have
to
to
him.
prove
Yeah.
that he only spoke Aramaic, because as we know, in the ancient world, people spoke multiple tongues, because there wasn't a singular common language. The British Empire hadn't gone yet and taught everyone English, right?
Yeah.
So probably he spoke at least Aramaic,
But you can't
probably
prove that.
Greek.
You can't prove that.
Sorry?
You can't prove that he spoke multiple languages.
Well, I can, because he talked to people who wouldn't have spoken Aramaic. In the Gospels, he speaks to a centurion, a Roman soldier, a high-ranking one. They don't have to speak Aramaic, because Jesus Christ came from Nazareth. So he must have spoken a Nazarene dialect of Aramaic, which is like very, very precise. So a centurion wouldn't be speaking that, meaning that he would have to talk to him in Greek.
So can I make an argument on that
Who
point?
wrote the gospel?
So the gospel message was transcribed by the Apostle John, or the disciple John, sorry, the disciple Matthew, the Apostle Mark, and the Apostle Luke. They are the ones who transcribe these and then spread them.
I was brought up Catholic. So,
Okay.
My understanding is these gospels were written about 100 to 200 years after the death of Jesus.
That's not true. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't have, like, for example, churches popping up with, so for example, in Ethiopia, where you have Christianity since the first century, they even have today a preserved Bible from the 4th century, so from the 300s, right? That is a copied manuscript of Bibles from the 1st century. So you already had the Old Testament; it was already there. So everything from Genesis all the way to Malachi was already there, like 300 years at least before the birth of Christ. And then the New Testament was also written down in the 1st century.
Sorry,
so
is there a Bible that you can refer to that was around from the time of Jesus?
So there wasn't a full Bible as we know it today, but the gospel messages were already transcribed and spread across many churches.
Like he said, people who came 200, 300 years after Jesus.
No, it was during the 1st century, because like I said,
That's a historical fact what he said.
It's not a historical fact, because these were already written beforehand. So that wouldn't be a historical fact.
Exodus.
Huh?
Who wrote Exodus?
So the first 5 books, I think we're gonna have to move. That thing's coming. Sorry, who wrote Exodus? Exodus is attributed to Moses.
But who wrote it?
So it was either Moses or his scribes, because in the story of Moses, he is raised in the house of the Pharaoh, and so it is from what we know about ancient Egyptians, it is like okay to assume that he was at least educated enough to write. So likely he wrote like some of the first like descriptors of Exodus, but also he taught these to his scribes. And when he died, Joshua and Aaron were there in his stead to take over. And so they probably also wrote some of that too. So the first 5 books, the Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Would have written like, and Moses went to this, and Moses done that. Because you'd write as an I went here and I went there.
Well again, like,
And what language
unless
would he have written it in?
some sorts of, I generally don't know, because again, he was raised, so we can assume some things, right? He was raised in the house of Pharaoh. And we can't say for certain what they spoke in that time, but some sort of like Proto-Coptic or something. I could be completely wrong. Yeah. But at least later in the book of Acts, we learn that Moses was apparently well studied in all the ways of the Egyptians. So we can at least know that he knew a little bit about the history, about their writing system, whatever the case might be. But also because he was writing these like scrolls now for people who were not Egyptians, we can also assume that he wrote them probably in some kind of language that they could
He
understand.
published it in multiple languages.
I would say probably in a language that they could understand, because I don't know if they could speak the children of Israel,
Israelites,
who were with them at the time.
Spoke one language. No?
Well, again, we're not sure, because technically, if you're away in a land for 400 and something years, and also the people who left Egypt weren't just Israelites, there were also other people who were slaves there, we can't assume that they only spoke one language. Probably more.
So the argument that Jesus made to Pharaoh, let my people go, he's talking about
that
the
Moses,
Israelites, right? That Moses made.
Yes.
Was let my people go.
Because he's born of them. His parents are Israelites. Yes.
The Exodus was the Israelites leaving Egypt, right?
Israelites and other people as well.
And other people.
Yes.
So he wrote the Exodus in whatever language they spoke as Israelites.
Yep.
And it was incoherent to the other people who were there.
I can't say for certain because I can't say that the other people who were there
wouldn't. You're claiming that he wrote it in multiple languages.
I didn't say that necessarily, but you could say that probably safe to assume he potentially did. Okay. Or they had some kind of shared common language in which they could potentially read for those who could read.
And that language would have been different from what Jesus spoke.
Very different, because we're thousands of years departed, right? Like English 500 years ago is hard to read today.
So the argument that I made earlier, when you misinterpreted something from the Quran because it's in Arabic, facing east and west, can we not assume that the Bible also made mistakes linguistically if it's not written in the language that Jesus spoke? So the Roman Bible.
That's a good point.
That's absolutely relevant, right?
So, luckily for us, things aren't just translated using Google Translate. People spoke multiple languages.
Because they had no Wi-Fi back then.
People spoke, they didn't have any Wi-Fi, unfortunately. People spoke Greek and Arabic. People spoke Greek and Persian. So these people were capable of understanding a message in one language and then transcribing it to another language. That's how interpreters work. So,
and we're assuming they were all linguistic experts.
Well, they should have been, right?
Because
again, they should have been, because committing that work is a very important skill that not just anyone can do.
Absolutely.
So you have to be someone of an expert. It has to be a trade for you, for example. You wouldn't be a carpenter and then be a translator unless you were somehow very skilled in both.
So which university or which entity transcribed the Bible into multiple different versions?
So, like I said, it was being done from the very first century.
By the Romans as an example.
Well,
the Roman
not
Bible.
just there is no Roman Bible.
Apologies, but which Bible are we actually
referring to?
Which Bible is the Word of God?
Right. So two things there. When you say which Bible, there are many different translations of the Bible because we accept
the source.
The source.
The source.
The original.
Okay, so
the original.
Okay, so if you're looking for the gospel that was penned by Mark himself, it might be a little bit too late for that. Paper diminishes over time, so you probably can't read that, which isn't a problem because it will be the language that you can't even read.
There would be an authentic chain of narration, right?
Well, I mean, sure thing, right?
Because I know the Muslims have that.
Yeah. Well, the Muslims like to brag about it, but they took it from the Christians.
They took what from the Christians? Okay, but who has it today?
So, for example,
because you've just said we might be too late, right? So if we're too late, that means that chain of narration is now gone.
No, so I didn't say the chain of narration. I said that if you wanted to read the original Greek manuscript that Mark wrote of the Gospel, you might be too late. In the same way that the Quran that was written apparently like 2 years after Muhammad died is gone now. You can't go and read it again.
After Muhammad died, you said?
Yes, you can't go and read it again. It's gone now, right? The Quran.
No. I think we need to touch on that because in the time of Muhammad, it was recited. It wasn't written as a book. It
Same thing with the Gospels. They were recited first.
But the thing is, you can go to every part of the world now.
Okay.
Right? And you can find somebody here who has memorized the whole Quran here.
Okay.
You can go to the other side of the world.
Okay.
And you're going to find people that have memorized the whole Quran.
And they'll say the
what
same
does
sentence
for sentence. What that means, what that shows, is that there is something very authentic and profound in that book. Yeah, in that Quran, that it has been preserved even to this day. That you could throw all the Qurans away, you could throw them all away and burn them, whatever, right? This is true, right? And then the next day it would have it straight back as it was when it was revealed in the time of the Prophet.
Awesome.
Do you see what I mean?
I want to comment on all those things, if you don't mind. So my friend, what you're feeding me is something that in this park we call the Dawah Script. This sounds like something that you were told by a Muslim, and you've just taken it all as being true, okay? But there are issues with this, and I can go through them one by one for you. The first one being that in the same way that you said that the Quran was memorized and recited, that was the same thing with the gospel message. That's why it was written after Christ had descended, not before. People were learning it as songs, and it was being sung in churches as liturgies. So people were committing whole gospel books into memory. Anyway, now we have the printing press. We don't need that anymore. If you want to memorize the Gospels, you can. It's not the same as the Quran, so that's fine. Because people memorize something, whether it be an entire book, a play, whatever might have you, doesn't mean it's divine. Many people around the world know Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That doesn't mean it's divine. So all you can say by people memorizing it is that all you can say is that is proof that people memorize it. It doesn't mean that what they have is the same thing Muhammad has.
Just touch on the difference. The difference is there is a chain of narration of the person who that spoke it to that person to that person. So what I'm saying is, in Christendom, yeah.
Yes.
Do you have that as well?
Okay, so
you've come to me.
I say yes.
Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
Yes.
Who recited it to them first?
Okay, so
like from the source, from Jesus.
Okay.
Who recited it to them first?
So obviously, in the same way that Jesus Christ is the teacher, the rabbi of these individuals, Matthew, Luke, and John, he is the one who would have imparted the message of the gospel to them. Now, in Alexandria, in Egypt, we have a pope there, or a patriarch, and he is a descendant in what we call apostolic succession from Mark. So Mark founded the church in Egypt, in Alexandria, and he anointed the person to take over from him, and that hasn't happening since the 1st century till now. And you have the same thing in Rome. Their pope, Peter, was the first pope, and he anointed his successors all the way from him till now.
Peter Paul?
No, Peter is Peter. Paul is Paul.
No, but one of them changed their name, right?
Yes. So Saul became Paul.
Greetings.
Greetings. Yep. Saul became Paul. Okay.
Who was it that was on the road to Damascus?
That was Saul.
Okay.
But just those two examples, you have patriarchs in the east and the west who both descend in apostolic succession from disciples of Christ. Okay. So those are just two for you, right? Today you don't have any caliph or caliphate anywhere that descends from Muhammad. Those are all gone. And Christ told us in the New Testament that the gates of hell would never prevail against the church. The church, through all the highs and lows, has been here in the 1st century and will carry on being here until Christ returns. But whatever Muhammad was setting up, it had its heyday, and now it's gone.
It's gone?
It's gone.
The billions of Muslims around the world.
So that's not what Muhammad was setting up.
You lost me there.
That's not what Muhammad was setting up, right? Muhammad was trying to set up some kind of like global like caliphates, right? Where everything was ruled by an ummah or somebody who, for example, what happened after he died? You had caliphs, right? Now I'm not sure if he said that we should have caliphs, but whatever. You had caliphs, right? Where are the caliphs today? They are gone. Right? No one has them anymore. There are no more caliphates. There will be no more caliphates because now we have a world that is way too interdependent on a number of different political systems to function. So I would say that you're probably better off holding on the words of Christ compared to the words of Muhammad. And those have been transcribed to us through the churches.
You know what? I'm ready to be a Christian.
Hey man,
on
easy.
one condition.
On one condition?
One condition. Show me one verse in the Bible where Jesus says, worship me, I am your Lord.
So that is, okay, all right. So there's a problem with that, okay?
I'll do it now.
Right, so I want to just ask one question, say one thing, and then give you the answer. The problem is your faith in Islam so shaky that just because wait, no, I said I'll ask a question, I'll say a statement, and then I'll answer. That's what I said.
Answer and make a statement.
The first question is your faith in Islam so shaky that just because Jesus in the Bible, which you already kind of believe is corrupted, says he's God, you would leave? Yes or no?
Or is his confidence in Islam so high that you cannot prove that Jesus said that?
I gave an offer, and I know that firstly it can't happen.
Okay, right, okay, fair enough.
So to be honest, I was just,
okay, fair enough.
A smart ass if you like.
Fair enough.
Secondly, I've got absolutely no doubt, not an inkling, that Islam is actually the one true faith. And probably like yourself, I've spent many years as a Catholic, as a Christian, going through all of these things here. And it's a much deeper debate than this. But we have to be rational and we have to be logical, right, in our findings and what really is evidence rather than blind following.
Okay.
You understand? Christians are a bit vague.
Vague,
yeah.
How specific should I be?
very specific. You must be, when we're looking for the truth, you must be very specific and as detailed as you can be.
Tell me specifically why Islam is true.
Which part? Like
anything of it.
From an intellectual level?
Sure thing.
Alright, so we've got a lot of things that are scientifically backed up in the Quran.
You know that's not true anymore, right?
In what context?
What do you mean anymore?
As in the Dawah man himself, the Almighty Ali Dawah has said that it is nonsense. That there are no scientific miracles in the Quran.
There's no what?
Scientific miracles in the Quran because science can change and the Quran doesn't.
Okay,
now you're changing it.
That's what he said.
I like your word.
That's what he said.
Have you seen the video? Out of context. What he's saying
that's
is
what he said.
The Quran is the miracle. Yeah. So we don't whatever the Quran says. That's it. That's the miracle. That's what we believe. We don't need science to prove the Quran. So I've done a weak little argument here, I guess, by saying we got scientific facts.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's a strong argument because you know about embryology in the Quran.
He knows about it all. He's heard it 100 times.
It was taken from Greeks.
Yeah, it takes from.
Where's your proof of that?
From Greeks.
The study of embryology at the time of the Greeks, ancient Greeks.
Yes.
How did they study embryos?
Anybody who has a farm animal or a pet,
microscope.
you'll need a microscope. Anybody who has a farm animal or a pet can see an embryo. Animals have miscarriages all the time.
An embryo?
Yep.
You mean at a cellular level?
Well, the Quran does not describe anything on a cellular level. No, it doesn't.
Every single transition.
It talks about blood and a blood clot. Those are not cellular.
This is where I know that you're lacking understanding.
Show me the word cell in the Quran. Show me.
Just 1 second. Your lack of understanding of the Quran is not just linguistic.
Show me the word
You're
cell.
not understanding the context either.
Okay.
This is my argument.
Well, I would say that the context is not there. You're simply putting it on.
I'm putting in the context.
Yes, you are.
So I'm adding to the Quran as I speak.
Because the word cell isn't there anywhere.
The word cell is not there.
That's the first thing.
All right.
But then lastly, I made the point. I asked the question. I made the point. The point I was going to make, was that you don't need something called an exact word fallacy to prove something is true. If I said I won't believe that Muhammad is a Muslim unless you show me in the Quran where it says Muhammad is a Muslim, that would be an exact word fallacy. There are other things you can point to that can showcase to you in the Quran that Muhammad is a Muslim. Okay? So, lastly, to answer your question, where does Jesus Christ say, I am God, worship me? I would say that God doesn't even need to say that for you to worship him. It should be evidence from the actions of God. And if you want something that's very precise, you accept that the Father, for example, is God, and the Father should be worshipped, correct? Jesus Christ, in John 16:15, says that all that belongs to the Father is mine. So, if the entire universe, all creation, all dominion, all praise belongs to the Father, Jesus Christ is claiming that also belongs to him.
And is this on all the Bibles?
All of them. All of them. So therefore, that would mean that Jesus is claiming to have everything that God the Father has. If you don't believe me, is it possible for Muhammad to say, all that Allah has is mine? Why?
But my question is, in what context? In what context is Jesus saying?
In any context.
That I have everything that God has.
In any context you want to do.
Because you need to interpret that Jesus is God in human form.
Right.
But my friend, out of curiosity, can you tell me why I cannot say, or why it's incorrect to say, all that belongs to Allah is Muhammad's?
Does Muhammad say that?
does not claim that he's
because he's not claiming anything.
Okay, so he's not claiming, but is that the only reason?
Nobody's bestowed it upon him.
Muhammad never said that he's like a handsome guy, right? But we can say maybe he's a handsome guy. We can probably say that, right? So just because he doesn't say it, does that mean it's not true?
We're not worshiping Muhammad.
No, again. Okay. So you see what he said there? We're not worshiping Muhammad, right? Meaning that if somehow somebody said that all that belongs to God is mine, and they weren't lying, that would mean that they were divine. Is that what it means? That's what I'm gathering.
Wait, why are we asking? Sorry, just so that I understand. Why are we asking what Muhammad didn't say instead of what he said?
Because there is a ramification to what Jesus says. It's not something a regular guy can say. Do you see what I mean, by the way?
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
So, all that belongs to the Father is mine. And Jesus Christ, the Bible says that there is no sin in him. That's why he can take away sin, right? So, assuming that he held he held to the law wholeheartedly, the Ten Commandments, which is why we can say he was perfect, right? In that he never sinned against God. If he then claims to own everything that God owns, that means that by default he is God.
Is that quoted in the Quran?
That's no, this is in the Bible.
So if I was to say,
yep,
I own everything my father owns.
Yes.
I am my father.
No, you're not your father, but you own everything that he owns, right? Now, what does your father own? A house, a car, some assets. What does God own?
Everything in the universe.
So therefore, Christ does too.
But that does not make him and his father the same.
Well, that's not my argument. My argument is that makes him God. That makes Christ God. Now, God is a person. Sorry, Christ is a person of God. Christ isn't the Father. He is distinct from the Father, but he is God.
Why is he distinguishing himself from God if he is God?
Because God is tri-personal. 3 persons, the Father, Son, and Spirit. He isn't just unipersonal. Oh.
Jesus is God in human form.
Sure. Yeah, God in the flesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's God in the
Sure,
flesh.
sure.
So
My friends here are Muslims.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
My friends here are Muslims. I'm just trying to get into them. No, not a problem. But ultimately, there is something divine about the words of Christ. Yes, there are times when he does speak as a man, and we accept this because Christ is fully God and fully man. He needed to be fully man because he came here to deliver us from sin. Sin is what separates us from God. Sin came into the world through a man, through the actions of a man. Even though Adam and Eve both partook in it, it was Adam who sealed the deal because Eve ate first and then Adam joined her afterwards. So the Bible says where 2 or 3 agree on a matter, it should be done according to them, right? So Adam is the one who is blamed later in the New Testament for being the reason why we have death and why we have sin in the world. So because it came through a man, it had to be taken away as well through a man. But no man was perfect enough to take away the sins of the world, so God himself had to come and do it. That's what we believe about Christ. And if you were a Catholic, if you were a Christian, I suspect that now you're probably reading more into Islam because it's like newer and more intriguing. But if you had done the same amount of reading into Christianity, you wouldn't have left because all of the questions and the answers that you want are all there.
Listen, I don't think you understand how difficult it was for me as a white Irish guy.
I can imagine.
To leave
Christianity
and come to Islam.
I know in Ireland, like they're really
a lot of research, a lot of questioning, a lot of this, a lot of talks with bishops, cardinals, priests, a lot.
Okay.
Do you understand? So it wasn't some. Following the trend. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, that's not what I said at all. That's not what I said.
But you know, you say I would definitely have left.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have left if you had done the level of investigation that you did and are doing into Islam for Christianity.
I'm sorry, I could make the same argument with you.
Well, you can't because I haven't. I wasn't something else beforehand. I was always a Christian. I was born
saying, if you did the same level of study in Islam.
Well, I put a lot of stuff. Well, definitely. So I have to be honest with you, I have a lifetime of like partial study and then sort of like more intensive study in the last like 3 years of Christianity, right? I didn't know anything about Islam until I came to this part, but I've learned a fair share. And ultimately, I can argue for you why it is not the truth without trying to like tell you some conspiracy about Constantine or whatever might have you. But I personally just think, particularly with your background, I'm not saying because you're white, therefore you must be Christian. But this country as a whole has a very long history with Christianity. And there's been a lot of people who have come here from other parts of the world and contributed to the understandings and the theologies of Christianity. You could have looked into them. You could have looked at Aquinas, looked at Augustine of Canterbury. You could have like looked more into them. And
I looked deep into it.
And still,
I didn't want to leave.
Okay.
I did not want to leave.
Okay.
I didn't know any Muslims.
Right.
Do you understand? But I come across something that was very intriguing. Opened up my eyes. It was quite a battle, to be honest.
So, for example, you didn't want to leave, and you did a lot of studying.
My heart,
but
it couldn't. My heart could not like deny it anymore.
The Bible, I think, even tells you not to trust your heart.
Okay, well, my head, my intellect, even was the first thing that believed was my head.
The Bible also tells you.
The first thing that believed was my head.
The Bible.
So what should I choose, my head or my heart?
The Bible also tells you not.
So just blindly follow.
So the Bible says.
Just blindly follow.
So,
he said.
So two things, right? The Bible says, "Lean not onto your own understanding, but set your eyes upon the things of the Lord." So, if you are, for example, even the Quran even says something very similar, right? It says don't ask questions that will cause you to doubt, right? But it's a little bit different there. Go ahead and ask questions. Go ahead.
But it says God created all these things for people to observe and digest.
Okay, but then when you ask, okay,
you're supposed to use your brain, you're supposed to use your heart, you're supposed to understand this world.
Using your brain, you can easily understand that Islam is not a religion for the entire world.
No, it's for men of understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So you could make the same argument for Scientology, that it is only for those who are willing to put their time, effort, and money into seeking the answers and climbing the ranks in the religion who can actually attain true understanding. I would say if God wants to come here and communicate with all of us, he shouldn't make it so hard.
Do you know how he would pray?
Sorry?
If he came here, he'll pray like me.
But can you show me in the Bible?
Yeah, where it says he dropped on his face on the floor.
Put his head on the floor.
Doesn't
He's
it?
gonna pray like who joined the Jamaat with us?
But he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that because technically you're not praying to the Father. So he only ever prayed to the Father, but not Allah. So unless you're praying to the Father,
just back one step. You said Jesus spoke
let me
Aramaic.
come back.
He spoke Aramaic.
And male languages, probably Greek, probably
in Aramaic,
Egyptian.
His main language was Aramaic, right?
Well, again, it depends where he was. Because don't forget. No, because don't forget, he also lived in Egypt for a time. Don't forget that too.
But his main language,
What's the main language?
Like your main language?
Like the first one he learned. Probably Aramaic, sure.
So in Aramaic, what's the word for God?
Say it.
It's not a lot.
Say it.
Oh, come on.
It's not a lot.
Don't tell us what it's not.
Are you researching for debating or are you researching for truth?
It's not a lot.
Because what is it? What is it?
If you want to go down that route,
just answer
well,
me.
no, I think it's actually isn't it like Ilaha?
Ilah means God.
Okay, but that's again taken from the Old Testament where Elohim, like El is ascribed to God in the Old Testament.
Elohim is Ar-Rahim.
So that just means that Arabic borrows from Hebrew.
No,
That's
it's one of the
means.
attributes that you were saying cannot be
Yeah,
attributed
but
to God.
all that means is that Arabic borrows from Hebrew. That's all it means. Because Arabic
Borrows
is
from Hebrew?
Yeah, it's a lot newer.
The argument is that Jesus' religion is closer to us than it is to yours.
It's not.
The way that he prayed.
It can't be. I was going to answer that for you actually.
All right, go.
So you're quoting an instance, yes, where he fell on his face, but he didn't.
Not just Jesus, Moses, Abraham.
Yeah,
Isaac,
but the way
prophets.
they did this wasn't in the same position.
How do you know?
So
I don't know how, but I know he fell on his face, and I don't see Christians doing
do you know what falling on your face means for them?
Frustrated.
You're like this, and then you do this.
Who showed you that?
Look at any kind of like description of like any of them praying. They're not like on their knees as they're doing it, right? They're on their entire face. Like when you guys
So they lay
pray,
flat on their stomach, is what
yes,
you're saying.
yes. So when you pray, for example, your face doesn't hit the floor; it's your forehead, right?
What?
These guys are completely like prone.
Okay, so then you could have the argument that it's not my face, it's my nose on the floor.
Well, so essentially,
You see what I'm saying? It's all part of
so
the face.
your face.
What the face was, he said earlier what the face was a constructed physical form of something, of identity.
Of a number of things that can identify you, right?
So you can't say it's not
I
the face,
identify you from your forehead only?
Possibly, because I got a scar there.
I mean, but
How do you
potentially,
pray?
but
How do you
there
pray
are.
right now? How do you
Okay,
pray?
so now to drum it all off, I'll come on to all of that. Drum it all off, right? In the Bible, we also have Jesus Christ saying not to pray in the street corners, not to pray in the markets, not to pray in public where people can see you. We have descriptions of him going on mountains, secluding himself and praying there. We have a description of him putting his hands to the side and casting his head to the sky as he prayed. So Jesus Christ didn't pray in one way, just as peoples of the world don't pray in one way. There are many other religions that assume the same sort of like stances as Muslims do. That doesn't mean that Islam is correct or they're wrong. People can pray in a variety of manners. Some people pray by jumping over fire. So like it doesn't really mean anything, right? But to answer your question very specifically, if Christ was here, saw you guys praying here in the corner in a mosque, right? If you guys are not calling upon the Father,
so why does Jesus pray
He's saying
similar to
no.
us? His argument still stands.
It doesn't stand because you guys do not pray on mountaintops. You don't.
We can pray
I
anywhere.
prayed up in Nevis, I prayed
I prayed. Were you on the
but routinely, do you seclude yourself to go and pray where it's only you and God?
Every day.
Do you cast your hands to the side and look to the sky with your eyes open while you pray to Allah? Yep. Okay. Awesome. Now you're praying like Jesus. He's not praying like you. Awesome. Well done.
The only difference between the way that we pray and the way that Jesus prays is that we face the Qibla, which is in Mecca.
Oh yeah, that's true. He didn't do either.
Difference.
Well, no, it's also that he didn't say a bunch of like Arabic words when he prayed.
Like he
wasn't praying for Muhammad and his family.
Right.
He's not praying for Abraham and his family. He isn't praying to Allah either. So
the Tashahhud actually refers to Abraham and the other prophets as well.
Sorry?
So he does actually make reference to all of these prophets.
He doesn't pray for their families or for them. So where?
In the Tashahhud.
No, Jesus.
I'm talking about Muhammad.
I'm talking about Jesus.
Because we're Muslims.
I'm not.
Listen, I appreciate you all.
None are good but God, right? None are good but God.
Look, you've generally done a good job of like arguing against our understanding of the Bible.
All right.
I hope I've done the same with when it comes to your understanding of the Quran. My only advice is to understand the Quran. Yes, you do need to have some knowledge in Arabic. That is true. So if you actually want to know the truth about Islam, I do recommend you start there with the Arabic language.
I don't subscribe to, so I told you before about local religions. I don't subscribe to local religions. If I did, I'd go back to my old school religion. Because like there we have to like know our language and speak in only our language and pray in only our language, right? So I don't believe that if there is a maker of heaven and earth who has dominion over all peoples, that he would restrict his knowledge to a language.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any knowledge of like academic legal systems and things like that? So when you study law, there is an element of French requirement for French understanding, because the French language is not ambiguous in many cases.
Okay.
So when it comes to the legal system, you can't be ambiguous. So you have to have some knowledge of the French language in that context.
Okay.
So when you're trying to understand Islam as a religion, you have to have some basic knowledge of Arabic.
Ooh, but you see, it can be basic because like there are many things in Arabic.
So basic enough to understand face and facing. That's my point.
I don't know about that. There's a cacophony of other strange things in Islam that you need like a degree to understand.
That's subjective.
It's very true. My favorite one is all the. Are you familiar with the Alif Lam Ra, Alif Ram memes?
The alphabet, you mean?
Oh, okay. So within the Quran, yes, you're right. You're right. This is the alphabet.
Oh, you're talking about it revealed what we don't understand what it is.
Exactly. So like in Surah 2, verse 1, 12, verse 1, 11, verse 1, 29, verse 1, and like 16 others, right?
No one knows what these mean.
Yeah. So for example, if you believe that like the Quran is divine and it's from God because of X, Y, and Z, right? And then you can list all these criteria, like it's unchanged, protected, memorized, easy to remember, contains miracles, right? Yeah. I would say a book from God can't contain any nonsense statements. So anywhere in the Bible, do you just have it where it says like ZXQYX?
Yeah, the thing about
the Trinity.
The thing about the Trinity and them being three but one God, but Jesus is the messenger, but he's God. To me, that's just as
I don't know if it's in the Bible, you know.
It's not.
No, that's not in the Bible, is it?
Well, so the understanding is in the Bible. But
so
when you
now we're touching on something else here.
That's fine. Let's do it, right? Let's do it. So these Alif Lam Ras, right? Nobody knows what they mean. The understanding for them can't be found in the Quran, and no ulama, no scholar, no sheikh can tell you what they mean. They can only postulate. So I would say, if a book is from God, it can't have any statements in it that are like non-cognitive, that have no meaning.
It's not non-cognitive, because what it could also mean is that you are mankind, you don't have knowledge of everything, you don't deserve knowledge of everything. Alif Lam Mim, that's it.
Which many scholars have made the argument
that's an argument, right? So Alif Lam Mim is
you don't need to know everything. You're not going to know everything.
It's not possible. You're a human being.
That's an assumption, right?
You said we can make assumptions.
It doesn't actually mean that's the case.
Yeah, we don't know evidence. We don't know.
Okay, fine.
Sorry,
so I would say
it's going to be assumption.
You made assumptions about Moses and the language.
If a book is from God, it can't have those. That's why I would say that would be one of my criteria. Right.
Look, to be a Christian, you have to assume. You have to make assumptions.
Well, no.
Yes, you said this.
You can make assumptions. I didn't say that, first of all. And you can make assumptions that are backed up by the tenets of your religion, right?
When I asked about the language,
yes,
you said I'm assuming that they translated it in these languages. I'm assuming that these people were knowledgeable.
I was trying to.
They are assumptions.
That's not what I said. You were asking me what language he spoke.
It's on tape.
I ultimately don't know what language Moses spoke. That's fine. That's great. You can go and watch it. So one is called Soko, S-O-C-O, and the other one's called Revelations 22:13. By the way, that's just Christ saying he's God. By the way, in that verse. Cool. But when it came to Moses, right, I was making assumptions based upon what I know briefly about ancient Egypt and the fact that Hebrew is a language that was in a protographic form in the time of Moses and was developed later on. Yeah. So that's why I'm making that basis of.
But making assumptions is okay.
No, but I'm making it based off of some sort of like external evidence.
Right.
The Alif Lam means the Alif Lam Ra. You can't actually tell me that it means something or that it means that God is great outside of the Quran, because it's just basically saying in Latin alphabet ABC. That doesn't mean anything. You said the Trinity. It's not in the Bible. So where are we getting this idea from, right? The idea is simply the Trinity itself, the word isn't in the Bible, but the idea of the Father, Son, and Spirit being God is in the Bible. Because we don't believe that God has very distinctive features and attributes that only He can have. And if you start applying these things to other things, then by extension, they are also God. If you say that the Word of God made all creation, and the Word of God came down here and dwelt as flesh with us as a man, which it says in John 1, 2, and in John 14, that would mean that Word in flesh is God. That's just how we take it. That
was your argument, not ours. Like,
but that's how we take it, right? So I am not telling you that, that the Trinity is just a thing that we came up with, right? It's derived directly from the Bible. Yeah. Like, we're not postulating, we're simply making a common sense argument.
So that's what he did with Alif Lam Mim.
But he didn't.
He did. He did. You referred to his as an assumption, and yours as a scholarly understanding of the Bible.
Well, so again,
they're both assumptions.
It's not only scholarly, because not only scholars hold this to be true. The Christians hold it to be true, and they have since the very first centuries. You even have writings of some people who talk about this idea. So even like all the way back in like 150, there were people like writing the idea of the Trinity.
We have multiple schools of thought in Islam. There are multiple schools of thought.
I'm aware.
All of them come to these kind of conclusions that you've done. So all of these different schools of thought. Let's keep it here. Let's keep it here.
Okay, sorry.
All of these different schools of thoughts that you are well aware of, they come to the same conclusions that this guy's come to, right?
No, they don't. Regarding the words, no, they don't.
No, they don't. Multiple scholars make the same argument.
Yeah, but
you as a human being cannot know everything.
I mean, for example,
but when he does it, it's an assumption. But when you do it, it's scholarly. It's something that
No, that's not what I'm saying, right? So when I talked about the things from the Bible, right, they're not nonsensical. They can be understood. Moses obviously spoke. The Bible says he has a stammer. It also says that he was brought up in the house of Pharaoh. Is it wrong to assume that if you're brought up in the house of royalty, you're not educated?
That you're not educated?
Yes, he wasn't a servant there. He was adopted.
But no, that's fine. But let's call it what it is.
Okay.
An assumption.
Right, but it's an assumption based on external evidence.
No, it's based on the lack of evidence.
Well, no, not necessarily.
That's what an assumption is.
Exactly.
When there's a lack of...
No.
There's a lack of evidence, so we're going to assume.
That's not
you
what...
have enough evidence to make it a fact.
No. Assumptions don't only assume a lack of evidence,
That's
right?
That's linguistic fallacy.
It's not a fallacy. I mean, I haven't got the definition of assumptions here with me, but it doesn't assume that evidence doesn't exist, first of all, right? It is a... I can make up a definition, but I'm not going to. But ultimately, it does not assume that nothing, no actual evidence for a thing exists, first of all. You can make assumptions about things that actually do exist, right? Yeah. But they can be assumptions that are based with no evidence, and some that can be based with evidence. Is there any evidence to suggest that there is a meaning to Alif Lam Mim?
Yeah.
What is it?
So, back to the language aspect of Islam.
Okay.
The Arabic language?
Yes.
Words are not always as definitive as in English, right? So one word can have multiple meanings.
But these are letters, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the argument that he made is that as human beings, and this is an example of that, there are things that you will not know. Okay?
Sure.
This is something that multiple people agree on.
Okay.
And that is the reason why we don't know this. We don't know Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Ra, what they refer to or what they mean.
Okay.
Right.
But the problem is that these are features of Arabic. They're
Arabic
actual letters.
The Arabic language.
So, I mean, if you understand Arabic, if there's any meaning to an Aleph, you would know it.
All right, so in Islam we refer to ourselves as slaves, right? Muslim is a slave
Yeah,
of Allah.
yeah,
right?
as an abid or whatever it is.
As an abd, yes.
Yeah?
Right, a slave of Allah.
Okay.
So in that same context, we understand where our limits are as human beings, right? So would it not make sense for that argument to be the case?
So how would you identify that a Arabic letter, which in any other circumstance you will understand the use of, in that one instance is like almost useless in meaning?
Yeah, so Islam, like Christianity, is a belief. I believe that this Quran is the word of God, right?
Okay.
I believe that Alif Lam Mim that is written in this Quran is the word of God.
Okay.
It's a faith, right?
Sure.
So you have the same faith. You have Christianity as a faith.
But
Islam
is
as a
it
faith.
backed up by anything?
What do you mean?
So
when I argued with you about the science and the embryology, you said
Yes.
to me, oh, that's none of that is true, it's been disproven.
And plus,
well, that's what Dawah said.
I
Not me.
fail to understand why we're arguing about the letters instead of arguing about if the book has got everything that is a fact and nothing is wrong. Why are we
There's
arguing
many
about
things
the
that's wrong in the Quran.
Give me something. Just one.
Dual Qarnayn doesn't exist.
What?
Doesn't exist?
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
What do you mean? What doesn't exist?
Okay, so Surah 18, go to like verse 85 to 101. It talks about